Hello, this is JP Hrisoulas, the cranky old bastard, and we're just going to discussing Wootz a little bit. That crucible steel, it goes back 2,500, 3,000 years or so. Very, very fun to work with material, and by the term fun, I mean something that can be very challenging, and once you get the piece that actually works, it can be very satisfying to actually get one that turned out. Wootz goes by several names. Wootz, Jahwar, Bulat, several other names. It basically originated in through Asia Minor into the Indian subcontinent, up through Persia, Jordan, Syria, a few other places in through there, up into the Balkans, and far west as North Africa in some places. It's a true crucible steel, which means it is a fluid steel. It is not to be confused with pattern welding, even though the term quote-unquote Damascus is used to define pattern welding. It's not that. This is a true crucible steel. It is produced by basically melting irons and other elements in a crucible, letting it slowly set a temperature to the carbide formation through slow cooling, and end up with a slug of metal or an ingot or a cake, whatever you want to call it. It involves a lot of heat, it involves some time, and most of all, it involves the right material. When you start getting into this branch of bladesmithing, it can be very challenging when you first start out. It can also seem a little intimidating because you have to have a furnace that's capable of maintaining 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit and a little warmer than that. Yeah, that's about maybe 45 minutes to an hour, hour and a half of constant heat in order to get the desired effect. When I first started out doing this stuff 20 years ago, there was very little out there, but thanks to the folks at the International Wootz Society and a few other people like Rick Furrier and a few others whose names I can't remember off the top of my head right now, as well as myself, we've been playing around with this stuff for decades, and we were getting some really neat stuff. Pendray and Verhoeven did a couple of articles on it, and to be honest, they didn't really spill the beans on everything. They kept a couple of things to themselves, which can be really frustrating to people that really have an interest in doing this. And I find that almost to the point of being irreprehensible. That was just not right. If you're going to publish the entire work. Just don't hold back certain processes in order to protect your trade secrets, because this is nothing. Anyway, back to what I was saying. When the British invaded India, the Indian smiths were hot and heavy into doing crucible steels. They did not want this technology to fall into British hands, to stop doing it. At some time, well, for a long time, the Indian subcontinent, that whole area through there, was known to produce some of the finest blades in the world. There are numerous examples of cavalry officers' swords that used Wootz Champsure blades for the blade, several of which I've handled. The most notable one was for a Russian prince that had a beautifully done Persian sword blade in a European mount. Exquisite sword. This is from the early to mid 19th century. After that period of time, it was pretty much died out in most of the makers, although there were still some places that were making it, like in through Syria and Persia, that area in there, which is now Iran. They're still being made. Most of your new stuff now is coming out of India. I don't know if it's reworked old blades or what. I really haven't had a chance to examine that material. But at one time, that was some of the finest blades in the world. So what is it? It is basically iron matrix with carbide and a few trace elements. That's the simplest explanation to it. What you see in the material, all the patterning, is the carbides in the iron matrix. This is a result of heat and time, as well as certain trace elements, the most notable being vanadium. I mean, a little chrome and a little manganese. You have to be careful with the manganese, though. Too much, it'll darken the steel. It's to the point where you really can't see the pattern that well. The pattern really is just the carbides, and they will be elongated in the direction of the draw. You can do surface manipulation of the pattern to do ladder patterns, several others, rose patterns. Any excision of the material on a surface manipulation pattern, such as a ladder pattern, would result in a disruption of the pattern of the draw, which will basically translate into a pattern on the surface of the blade, given to a point as long as you don't get below that patterning as you grind or finish. So what do? You basically start with your material. I shoot for an average carbon content of about 1.5%, which is 150 points. Most of it is done in the form of graphite. I do use a parent material, 9260 or 1095. Some makers, they use cast iron to bring the carbon content up. Here, I do not particularly recommend that, because you never know what the condition of the cast iron is unless you have melt specifications. Most other makers using broken pots, like frying pans, etc. That's just too iffy for me. I'd sooner give a known content. You can charge a crucible. I use a mixture of 1095 powdered 1095, 9260 ball bearing steel. I've got a whole box full of several hundred pounds of these 1.5 inch to 3 inch ball bearings that a friend of mine gifted from wind turbines, as long as turbine races, and they charge up real nice. Got to make sure the material's clean. If not, you will get some horrendous outgassing, which can cause problems during the melt. So, in a nutshell, once you get your crucible charged, you seal everything up. I throw in a little powdered limestone, just for grins and giggles, as a flux under the crushed glass layer, which helps keep the extra iron away. And you melt it, and you hold it at temperature, which will be, here again, gone over in my 4th book. And you end up with stuff that looks like this, right here, or this, or this. Let me see if I can get these are all little melts I did. I did one big monster melt before I moved here from Nevada. I'll show you that in a minute, but let's see if you can get a pattern on this blade here. Let's see if we get this. I really can't see it on this one. Let's try the monster melt. Let's try this one first. Hold on, let's see if we get that one. Maybe a little better. Yeah, you can see a little bit better on there. Yeah, it's not showing that good. Here's the monster melt. I don't even know how I'm going to drag this stuff out. This is like a 6-pound piece. But yeah, you can start seeing it. Yeah, you can see it right in here. You can see the little cross hatches. Yeah, this is a big cake. This was done in a coal fire back in Nevada. This is a monster. Like I said, it weighs about 6 pounds. Let's get a measuring on this thing. My little 25-pound little giant ain't gonna cut this. It is 4.5 on the big side and 2 1/4 thick, and that tapers on the bottom to what? 3 inches. So it's 4.5 tapered down to 3 with 2.5 inches thick. That's a big chunk of steel. There's enough here for 2 swords. But my little 25-pound power hammer ain't gonna even move this. I might have to get a couple of young men there with 8 or 10-pound sledges and get a little striking team going here and very slowly work this, because this was a lot of heat. This took me like 5 hours to melt and let that cool overnight. But as you can see, these little slugs here, this is enough here when probably down there for a big knife. I mean, you could get a 16-inch blade out of this easy. This weighs has some weight to it. See, you get these little marks on the top. Most of these little things here I do for testing my alloys and formula, because there's no sense in, once the formula is perfected, you can go up and down with it. But I'm one of these people that actually believe that you should take a lot of good notes, especially on this stuff, and finish them before you try anything else. Because if you find something didn't work, you're not really heavily invested in it. And if you find something that did work, you know how to duplicate it for a larger material. Remember, volume-wise, 1 cubic inch is a piece that's 4 inches long, 1 inch wide, 1/4 inch thick. It's also 8 inches long, 1 inch wide, and 1/8 of an inch thick. So you get some serious blade length almost 1 cubic inch. So cubic inches is basically what matters. As you work this material, it is very easily confusing to work. It can harden on you. It can air harden on you when you're working it. It can crack if it's too cold. It can crumble if it's too hot. It'll be hard, red hard. It can fight you like the Kinjal I did. It fought me every step of the way. I mean, I did 3 furnace cools on that thing, and I still had to use carbide drill to cut it. But that blade cuts. These blade cuts very well. I can see why they achieved legendary status, especially when the Europeans encountered them during the Crusades, where they called it Damascus steel. Here again, not to be confused with pattern welding, 2 different critters. What it does today, as far as being worked, as I said before, the state of research for Wootz presently is where pattern welding was back in the 1960s to early to mid 1970s. People were just starting to really seriously get into it. Like I said, a lot of work is being done in little shops and garages all throughout the country, or actually all throughout the world. Most of the people here that are doing this, we either know each other or know of each other. We got bars here. I got a bar here that I hammered out. Let's see a little bit of pattern in there. I surface ground this. You can see some patterning in it. Wish my camera's a little better, but I'll give you an idea. Let's see about this piece here. Let's see this piece. Let's see. Yeah, you see some of the patterning there. I'm going to flip it over here. You really can't see much, but it is in there. I'm going to be using probably one of these pieces here. This piece here for a mega conjar. You do a conjar out of it. I'll figure out how to make something really wicked. Maybe a little yatagan or something called pishi. But that'll be this next weekend. Actually, this weekend here I'll be starting on that. Other than that, you got to make sure you heat treat it properly. It is a crucible steel, and the basic crucible steel is basically iron matrix with the appropriate amount of carbide and whatever various alloying elements are in there. It's like I said, it's tricky to work. You have a very narrow working range. There are also a few other techniques you have to employ before you really start working this. One of them is toasting or roasting. You take it up to critical temperature about 1650, 1700. Hold it there for about 15-20 minutes and then let it slow cool before you start forging it for the first time. That will allow it to normalize a little bit more and help prevent cracking. You can overextend this material if you work it too hard. You can cause cracking. It does not want to move like quote unquote normal steels would, like a 10 series or even an O series steel. It's interesting, as I say again, it is very interesting to work. It has a different feel under the hammer. It feels a lot like the old Vascoware when you work it. It is somewhat red hard and can be very red hard depending on what you got in it. Like I said, we're still doing a lot of research on this material. It is nothing magical, even though the Crusaders thought it was. There's a lot of mysticism and myth surrounding this material. about it being, heat treated in the bellies of virgin slaves and blood tempers and praying to arcane dark gods in the dark of the moon or during the full moon, facing north, swinging above your head. I guess there's so many legends on that. My favorite one is I tell people I do it in a jockstrap, a light coat of oil, facing north on a dark of the moon, and people believe me. You see me in a jockstrap, light coat of oil. That's enough to turn your stomach. I'm a sick person, I really am. I can tell you stories about some of the stuff I told people that they actually believe. I won't do that right now. All seriousness, you have to have a sense of humor if you do this stuff, because there are many times I get like 15, 20 hours in one of these pieces, and I come up with a crack. I have a kinjal blade out there now that's got a crack in it. I did not catch until after I etched the blade, and it just really upset me. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And those failures aren't really failures. You just found something that didn't work. Always keep learning. Always keep adding to your skill set. That's the important part. Don't let it get you. Don't let it get distressed. Don't let it beat you, because there's no such thing as failure until you stop. You don't fail until you actually quit. And every failure you learn something new. At least I do. Whether it's not to do something or I should have done something else, you got to keep going at it, because that's the only way you're going to make this art stay around. This isn't for the lighthearted person that's not serious, because this is a material that is very unforgiving when you first start out. And even after you've got it going for a while, they can still come back and spite you just to show that, you really don't know everything there is. I don't think anybody ever will. You will get some failures, but when you get those first couple pieces that work, you'll remember those the rest of your life. I know I did. I still do. So that's it for the discussion on Wootz. I hope you got some amusement out of it. I hope I helped demystify the material. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I would like to get a few more subscribers. I am thinking of going live. I don't know what that means, but I'll figure it out. I think that would be kind of fun to have somebody actually call up and actually talk to me, instead of me sitting there talking to myself like a blithering idiot. I do that enough as it is. It's just going to be an interesting ride if I do that. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see that happen. I'll be doing it. Like I said, when I hit about 250 subscribers, I'll do that, because I have no idea how to even let people know that I'm going live. But like I said, I'll figure it out. My website address is in there. I was also emailed about my books. I will put the address to Amazon and instructions how to find them on Amazon. All 3 are in print. Book number 4 is getting very close to being done. I am looking for a photographer and a graphic artist person. I have somebody that said they'll do the graphic arts for me, but I don't want to play on my friendship on this. He's a very good friend of mine, and he's got so much going on. He's a booze baron out in Nevada by the name of Dr. Sam Wise, MD. He's a very, very good orthopedic surgeon, one of the best ones when it comes to spines. But he's also got himself Old Sam Spiced Gin. He's a character. I love the man. He's something else. If you ever get a chance to throw a plug in for him, if you ever get a chance to get some of his booze, tell him I sent you. He'll get a kick out of that, and he might even charge you extra for that. But here again, thank you so much. Once again, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And Sam, if you're listening to this, I miss you, brother. I really do. Thank you once again. Have a pleasant evening. And I look forward to your comments. And may the wise Lord bless and keep you. Blessings of Mazda upon you and your family. Bye-bye.